episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Catherine Weigel.
And I am Donald Weigel.
You sure are. You're the U-est you can be.
I'm Donald Weigeling the heck out of it.
AF. Google that if you don't know what AF means.
Maybe don't Google it at work, though.
No. So today we are going to talk a little bit about abstaining and moderating.
Yes. And when we say moderating, we're not talking about debates.
No. So we're... let me just start by saying we just abstained the heck out of a bake sale for our daughter.
Yeah, we went to a school event, a mini film festival, student films, and they had baked goods out the yin-yang. Can I say yin-yang on a podcast?
That is.
We're supposed to have clean language. Is
yes,
yin-yang okay?
I don't know. Well, let's just table that. I'm not really sure. But speaking of tables, there was a table. I actually worked the bake sale. There were cupcakes, frosted cupcakes. There were brownies. There were just as much as you can imagine, delicious, unplanned, unexpected treats that I had to make a decision about whether or not I was going to have them. And this is where abstaining versus moderating comes into play, because I think part of this whole thing for me has been being really honest with myself. I, in the past, would lie to myself and say, I'll just have one.
Yes, and that doesn't usually work so well.
And knowing your limits on a particular day, and it could be different from morning to night location. There are some things that aren't triggers. There are some that are. When I was a child, may we go back to my childhood?
We may. Everyone likes to hear about someone's childhood.
Have you heard of easy bake ovens?
I have, in fact.
Mine was an easy sit and do nothing oven, because I would make the batter and then just eat the batter, because I couldn't wait, 60 seconds it took to cook the tablespoon of whatever cookie dough or whatever. So, I never actually used the oven, because I would just mix it up and then eat it. So,
this is where I'm glad that boys typically didn't have easy bake ovens when I was a kid.
What would you have baked if you could have?
I would have also skipped the baking and just I probably would have just poured the raw ingredients into my mouth and mixed them
and
there.
just mixed it in your mouth with your tongue?
In my mouth with my tongue, because I didn't have the patience to mix them together.
We're so much more alike than I ever thought we were. So the thing with the bake sale, and the thing with so many things in our lives, is that we're presented with situations where we have to make choices about how we are going to act around food.
And I chose to work the ticket booth so that I wasn't close to the baked goods.
You like to eat tickets.
Wait a minute. It's not ham paper.
No. So I had to choose today. I chose to work a bake sale, which is dangerous for a person who used to weigh 300 pounds. I then also had to decide what I was going to do. And you can make a game day decision, as they say in the footballs.
Sure they do.
They say that in the footballs. And there's resolve that one has over amount of time. I think in the morning, resolve is great. And then as the day winds on, you're more susceptible to make bad choices. And for me, standing at the table, as more and more people were putting baked goods down, my resolve started to crumble. And I had to make a conscious decision to abstain from having baked goods.
Yeah, the idea in this particular case being, if you had won, it would open the floodgates.
And it would have. And that's where honesty comes in, because the very scent of the creamy, buttery frosting. Sorry, again, I enjoy these things.
Well, not that I don't enjoy the cupcakes and the sweets, but I'm much more of a savory, cheesy chip fan, and I decided to just get a little 140-calorie bag of Doritos that were there and eat that instead.
Yeah, and I had some coffee, and some wonderful parent brought this like strawberries and blueberry situation. So I had that. But the entire time I wanted to have a brownie and a cupcake and a cookie and the Lay's potato chips, and so my angle was this: the big game is next weekend, Donald.
The big game.
The big
yes,
game.
We're not calling it by the official name.
The game that will not be named.
The game that will not be named.
And this morning we were talking about abstaining and moderating, and there are some things that I can moderate myself around. I can have, a handful of a certain kind of cookie, but if you get something else in front of me, like brownies and delicious gooey chocolate chip cookies, I just want to eat all of them. And so knowing the kind of person you are around what food and what circumstance is important. So this morning we were talking about the big game, and that I really want to have a really delicious hoagie sandwich from a local deli.
Yeah, it has these crazy good sandwiches this may sound crazy, but they put coleslaw on them, and I don't know.
And mozzarella sticks.
And French fries and mozzarella sticks, yeah.
It's amazing.
It's pretty crazy.
So, man, we're again with the sexy talk with the food.
I know. We can't help it. We are who we are.
So what I am trying to do is plan my indulgences. And today would not have been planned. I didn't pre-track calories. I didn't set myself up for, okay, you know what? I have enough calories for one cupcake, or I have enough calories for cookies, or, you know what? I'm not going to have anything until we leave, and then I'm going to take one brownie because that's what I really want. I hadn't planned any of that. And I felt like making a game day decision, I was not going to do what was in my best interest, which isn't to say I couldn't have something that I wanted, but it was so unplanned, and I felt today very vulnerable to just eating all of it, that I decided to not have anything, with in mind that next weekend is the big game, and I am definitely going to indulge in something that I really planned for and really wanted at that time.
Yeah, and I think something that we've both learned along the way, the last 2 years of losing weight, is that I get out of control when I don't plan to have things that are indulgences. And, if I'm out somewhere and I decide to have one thing that I wouldn't ordinarily have when I'm trying to lose weight or maintain weight, it tends to lead to 2 or 3 or 4, and then all bets are off.
Yeah, there's no such thing as one onion ring. That's not a thing people do.
Yeah, that is not a thing I do, for sure.
No, that's not my America.
No, but if I decide, okay, I am going to be rock solid for the next 2 weeks, and I am going to, on this date, have this. I know that I'm going to this place and having this treat. Then I'm able to work it in, and I'm able to. I feel like I'm more in control of it that way, and I don't let myself go crazy.
Well, and when I did Weight Watchers, which I know is a great plan for a lot of people, and I know people who have made it work for them, I always felt like I was failing on it because I would be quote-unquote hardcore, and I would have a splurge weekend and feel like I was totally off my points, and it just didn't work for me. But one thing that one of the leaders said in one of the meetings was, don't bring the devil home with you. And I think that, all of our experiences have led to who we are now. And I'm like this Voltron, this like super band of, of all of the weight loss plans and, experiences that I've had to make this big kind of blob weight loss plan that I'm on right now. The blob plan.
Like a golem, would you say?
Yeah, just absorb.
Not Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but a golem from...
Google it, people.
Yeah.
So I learned about myself, do not bring the devil home. Lay's potato chips, I absolutely love, and I cannot buy a giant bag of Lay's potato chips yet and bring them into my house. Maybe someday I will be able to moderate that, but right now I just have to abstain in the house. So I will have a small single bag in public that is a controlled portion, but I can't, like, a family size is a lie. Like, that is I could eat the entire bag of a family size before anybody even got home. So I just don't bring that devil home with me. Do you have any devils?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that what I have learned along the way, what we have learned along the way, I've tried a lot of times to be on diets where I couldn't eat any flour or any sugar or, no bread, no pasta.
You're basically like a gremlin. Like, you can't feed him after midnight. Don't get him wet. Like,
exactly. And I've always eventually caved on those things. I just, when I deny myself something for so long, a particular class of item, like no bread, no flour, eventually I eat the bread and I eat it with a vengeance. I mean, it comes back, and it comes back hard. And
like Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2, Electric Boogaloo. Was that a thing?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that when I was first diagnosed with the diabetes, my doctor told me to try and avoid sugar and flour and things. And so I did for a while, but I realized through some trial and error that I was going to have to do something that I could do forever. And what I could do forever was to eat those things from time to time. But it involved planning, and it involved controlling my portions. And, so it was like, well, just use hamburger buns, once a week, once every, twice a week, something like that. And if I was going to eat Doritos, they had to be in a small, like tonight, 140 calorie bag. If I was going to eat Pringles, they had to be in those individual servings. Like, these are things that I particularly love. And then once in a while, I could plan, and I could quote unquote splurge on a meal that I knew was coming up, that I knew was going to push me way over my calories, and I would be able to get right back on the next day and be fine.
And there's like I said, I'm a product of all of my experiences, and listening to the Happier podcast by Gretchen Rubin, she talks about knowing yourself better. And I've really tried to know myself better in the last 2 years and not lie to myself about, like, oh, I can buy the family size, or like, oh, I'm making Valentine's Day cookies for my daughter's class. Like, I'm a big fat liar, and I'm just making it so that I can eat all the raw dough, just like I didn't bake with my Easy Bake Oven. Like, I lied to myself all the time. And
now you don't bake it in your actual oven.
And now I do. But today at the bake sale, I did not bake anything because I knew that it would end up in my mouth. So I brought chips, and and I didn't have any, and it was outside the house, and it helped me control. But I knew that tonight that I didn't feel like I could control myself. And it wasn't planned, so I didn't have it. And it feels really good to have had that resolve, because the more you build that resolve muscle where you're making conscious choices instead of spur-of-the-moment choices, I think the better you are. Because now I feel proud of myself for having held off. I do have a treat that I'm going to have tonight, but it's planned in advance, so it's something that isn't a spur-of-the-moment that's going to lead me down a path of feeling let down by my choices.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of this is about trying to figure out, what you can work in and how you can work it in. And I know for me, depriving myself entirely just doesn't work. Now, the one exception to that so far has been soda. I have a soda problem. Specifically Coca-Cola, which
not cocaine.
not cocaine.
Callback. That was a callback.
Coca-Cola. Callback to a previous episode. I believe Coca-Cola to be the greatest invention of
Oh,
mankind.
yeah. No.
And clearly they had divine inspiration when it was created. And
This isn't an opinion. This is a fact.
no, this is a fact. If you look
Google
it up,
it.
if you look it up, it's science. They mixed in some magic from the heavens, and also perhaps the most terrible invention of mankind, because I can't stop drinking it.
Not the hydrogen bomb. No.
No.
It's Coca-Cola.
So, but I know this about myself, and there may be things that are in your life that you know about yourself. And so I have not had a soda in over 2 years now, and or about 2 years. Anyway, I've recently been thinking of trying to work it back in.
Which was startling. It was a startling revelation because I can have a Coke out at a restaurant and it's not an issue for me. We don't have it at home, but for me, that's not a trigger food. My Coca-Cola are bagels. Vega Cola, brought to you by the makers of
And I'm
Pepsi
not sure
Clear.
I've had a bagel in 2 years, but that's because I don't really care to
about
them. Yeah,
It's a cream cheese delivery
yeah,
device.
it's fine.
But so this is this brings up we're evolving. I think I used to say I can't or I'll never be able to whatever, and now I say I can't yet. So Don's truth bomb about Coca-Cola and that he might have one. I have a little bit of trepidation around it because in the past, one cola has turned into like a 12-pack a day habit.
Yeah, I mean, I really, honestly, and I'm not even an exaggeration, had a, like 10 to 12 Coke a day habit.
Because you work long hours and you're in the
Yeah.
office. That's, a 15-hour day, a little bit of soda.
And the soda at work is free. And so now I force the production assistants to buy LaCroix, which sort of scratches my soda itch. It's flavored seltzer water for anyone who doesn't know. But it's no sugar, no artificial sweetener, any of that. And I'm able...
This episode brought to you by
I know, I sound like a commercial. I am almost a walking commercial for LaCroix, though, because I love it so much. But I was thinking, though, that this inner soda demon of mine, that maybe I should try and quote unquote conquer it and just bring one home and have one and then not have another one for a week.
Well, and here is something else that I've learned from Gretchen Rubin, and the Happier Podcast, which is something that I've tried to integrate, is the idea of pairing an occasional indulgence with an occasional event in your life. So, specifically, we talked about bagels, which are magical, round, delicious, chewy, magical beasts. But I would, me in the past, I would, have Bagel Friday at work, and I would buy a dozen bagels for work, and then I would buy 3 extra, or, they'd give you a baker's dozen, and then I'd get 2 or 3 extras. I would eat them in the car on the way to work, and then I would get to work, and then I would have the bagel that everybody saw me eat publicly. So I was in secret eating 2 or 3 bagels before I got to work and hiding the evidence and then having a normal bagel with everyone else. Bagels are, I just can't yet stop myself from eating a ton of them. So now what I do, to tie it back, is I pair having a bagel with getting my hair cut. And that was from Gretchen Rubin, where she would say, pair an occasional indulgence with an occasional activity in your life. So things like going to get an oil change, going to the car wash, going to get your taxes done.
Going to the dentist, something like that. A doctor's checkup, like something that that may be somewhat unpleasant, but you end up giving yourself this reward when you go. But, it's not something you do, once a week. You can't say weekly, I'm going to treat myself with an indulgence. But you can say, this is, once every 3 months, once every 4 months, whatever your activity is.
And for me, making it clear that when I get my hair cut, I go to the bagel shop next door, and in public, I order a single bagel, and I get some coffee, and I sit and I enjoy it, and I know I'm going to get it. So it's not, do I deserve a bagel? Do I have enough calories for a bagel? Is the wind blowing in the right direction? It's not an emotional choice because I've tied the two events together. So it's like, oh, I get a bagel. And so it takes away that panic from me because now I don't have to decide to have a bagel. It's just there. So there are other things like for me, if I were you, and I'm not you, and I know you don't like to bust them out, but I might tie having a Coca-Cola with something specific because my concern, and I feel like you're self-aware enough now to be able to moderate after abstaining for such a long time, but I like the idea of you pairing it with some kind of event like Valentine's Day or something like that where it's like a...
No, this is actually a good idea.
Which I just came up with, right now. I'm like, what's next? What's next?
Yeah, no, that's actually a good idea that I should probably consider. And I don't know how to explain the difference between, my Coca-Cola thing and, things like, I know I'm always mentioning Doritos and Pringles, but they're also loves of my life. I'm able to work Doritos into my life pretty frequently. I just eat a reasonable amount, and I count my calories, and I stay on track, and I can eat that, just about any time. And I just work it into my life, and it makes me happy, and it keeps me going, it keeps me solid on my plan, because I don't feel like I'm completely deprived of everything I really enjoy.
Well, and I have said before, I've done Atkins, I've done plans that require strict adherence, and in this whole process, I think there was a woman who asked me a couple of years ago, like, oh, what's your trick? Like, what's your one weird, what, and she was hoping for some magic thing. And it's like, I have had to figure out how to live my actual real life, not my fantasy self life. And I know I've said that before, but, I love bagels. Atkins is not going to work for me because at some point I am going to want to have a bagel. And the me of forever, of sustainability, of maintaining this weight loss needs to figure out how to make it part of my life. And I cannot yet bring bagels into the house. So I moderate my bagel consumption by pairing it with a haircut. So I get my hair cut every 6 weeks, so I know I get a bagel. So there are other things like, croissants or donuts or, nachos or whatever. Being able to find something in your life that is an anchor point where you can pair the two together might be a solution. Now, there are certain things that you might just decide to abstain from, that you just have no control over yet. But we're evolving, and this whole Coca-Cola thing today, I wish I had been drinking something so I could have spit it out of my mouth because I was shocked to see that he was at a stage where he felt like he could...
It would have been ironic had you been drinking a Coca-Cola and done that.
Sprayed it in your face.
Yeah, right in front of me. But yeah, I think that it's going to be, for everybody, you've got to... Everyone's got their own demons, for lack of a better word. Foods that you can't live without, foods that you can't control yourself around, and you know yourself better than anyone. But, in my opinion, I think I could be so bold as to say our opinion, you've got to do this in a way that you can do forever. And, these diets that knock off weight in a quick fashion by abstaining from categories of food, I just think ultimately almost never work long term because you have to be a human and you have to live in the world, and you're gonna get invited to an Italian restaurant, for work one of these days. Well,
and I, this evening, and I know it's a mindset, and as a culture, I think we have, at least as women, this like, oh, I shouldn't, oh, I'm being bad, oh, I'm being good, like, oh, making excuses for whatever choices we're making. And there was a woman who was at the bake sale who looked fit and whatever, and she decided to have a cupcake, and she's like, oh, I shouldn't, oh, I'm being bad, like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I felt bad for her because I had made the choice to abstain altogether, but I told her, I said, I don't feel, I said, oh, I'm just not having one because I know that the Super Bowl is next weekend. I said it. I said the Super Bowl.
We are going to get so sued.
Oh, man. We can pay in Doritos. But I didn't want to feed into that, like, oh, do it. You deserve it. You've worked hard. Like, nobody deserves anything. We don't deserve anything. We deserve lives that we feel comfortable in our own skin.
And deserving things and having hard days and using your emotions and your bad days as an excuse to eat doesn't change the fact that those calories still, get ingested and still make you heavier.
Yeah, and so I told her, you know what? I am planning a really indulgent Super Bowl meal. And so for me, that is what I'm looking forward to. So these cupcakes look great, but they're just not on my plan right now. And it felt really good to actually believe that and not just say it as lip service. But, I didn't want some janky, Pillsbury boxed cookies or whatever. They looked very tempting, and the me of the past would have probably pocketed half of the baked goods on the table. So it feels good to be in control and to decide to abstain. So I think knowing yourself better is the message of the day. You're not going to have the same resolve every day. You're not going to have the same resolve in every situation, at home, at work, traveling. And let yourself be flexible enough, but aware enough to really be present in your choices and decide what kind of a day you want to have and what you can look forward to that might actually be a better choice than eating 5 packs of 100-calorie Oreo packs. Like
when you could have one, great 500-calorie
cheesecake
item.
Or whatever. So
and also not beating yourself up when you do go over your calories or go off whatever plan you're on. And don't throw the whole thing out the window. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they used to say in the old-timey days.
I know. I had overindulged the other day on a bunch of really cruddy stuff, and I was like, okay, so I'm 400 calories over my goal for the day. Do I write the book, The Girl That Gave Up All of, losing 150 pounds because of 400 calories of Pringles? That's the story
I would say no, because that title is far too long.
It's a long title. All right, I'll shorten it up, like LOL or YOLO or whatever. So think about that this week. What can you plan as an indulgence that is going to be really worth your time and your calories and your taste buds, rather than some, janky leftovers that somebody brings in from work? Really plan and be intentional about what you're going to enjoy, because I am really looking forward to next week's giant coleslaw, mozzarella stick, heartburn hoagie.
It's going to be great, and great for her.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. I want to personally congratulate both of us for being so inspiring today.
So inspiring. I'm hopefully it's not too inspiring for whatever device that you're listening to this on.
Yeah, so whether it's a bake sale, whether it's a Friday at work, whether it's the hometown buffet, just make choices that you're going to be really satisfied with, and don't make apologies for it, but be conscious about it. So
We Only Look Thin. WeOnlyLookThin.com. We have a Facebook page. You can search for We Only Look Thin. Find us on Instagram and Twitter, although I hardly ever tweet.
I should tweet. I need to start tweeting more. I think that burns some calories too. So
tweeting.
So thank you so much for listening. Thank you to everyone who has liked us, and who all the wonderful people who have left comments
and the ratings on iTunes.
You're winners.
You all are winners.
You are winners.
All right, I think that's it.
Anyway, thanks, and have a great week.
Have a great week. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.